Welcome everybody to the School of Administration. My name is Berven, and in today's session I have with me William from Disciplesoft. William, welcome.
Thank you very much, Berven, and thank you for having me.
Great stuff, William. Today we are going to be dealing with this very important topic of the relationship between the church and technology. And we are actually going to be interviewing William, trying to understand quite a couple of things that are very crucial where it comes to how the church should best relate with technology. So William, be ready for the questions that I'm going to throw at you, man.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm super ready, babe.
Great, William. Question number one for you. What are the effects of the COVID-19 crisis on the church?
I would basically say that there are 5 big challenges that we have actually noticed that are, that are affecting the church today. Right. Challenge number 1 is that, pastoral duties have become very difficult. In other words, we're simply saying that it has become increasingly difficult for the pastors to be able to shepherd their flock. The source of that problem is simply that it's because most of the church leaders, they do not have the exact numbers of the people that they're leading. Okay. And then if you don't know your flock, then it becomes very difficult, for you to be able to then to lead them through the crisis. I must add and say that during this crisis, this is when the membership of the church and the community in general are looking up to the church for leadership. Right. We know that the government and other, stakeholders like your civic organizations, they are definitely doing what they can do best, but what they cannot be able to do, which the church does the best, is to give people a message of hope. Because right now people are confused. People are scared, people are depressed, people are not very sure about what the future is going to be. But then if the church cannot be able to then shepherd their own people that they actually have, then it actually, that's crisis number 1. Right. Number 2, we have actually seen that there is ineffective online engagement. Because of the weird relationship that is there between the church and technology, what we noticed that most of the churches were not ready for this. So because naturally the church is 20 years or more right behind technology, and then when this crisis happened, it simply came to expose the deficiencies that that the church had, from the beginning. Right. So what then happened? What we saw happening during the during this crisis, that most church leaders rushed to open, let's say, Facebook accounts or WhatsApp groups and so forth. Yeah. But the engagement is ineffective. Number 1, because their members were themselves not used to fellowshipping, on these platforms. Number 2, because they don't know their membership. Sometimes whatever platforms that actually they're coming up with, they are not really relevant, to the nature of their congregants. And sometimes they end up speaking to a portion, of their membership and not everybody. And then challenge number 3 is that when people are not engaged or they are not engaged effectively, they actually end up becoming disinterested and they leave. Wow. Right. So we've actually seen a scenario where most churches are actually losing members. But what then would lead me into the challenge number 4 is that because we don't have systems that are actually helping the church leaders to be able to manage through this crisis, this, the church is not aware of these things. They are only going to be able to notice most of the church leaders when the dust settles down. Right. Unfortunately, that time it will be too late. So we are simply saying that we will not be able, the church is not able in most respects, they're not able to measure the impact of this crisis, what this crisis is actually done to their membership. For example, you want to know how many of your members have actually lost jobs during this crisis. Right. You want to know, for example, how many people have actually been infected and how many people are affected, because we believe everybody's affected. But without proper systems, this is actually very difficult. Yeah. And then you also have the 5th crisis is the 5th challenge that you have seen is that most churches are actually suffering financially. Their giving has seriously gone down. True. This is actually caused by a number of reasons. Number 1, when there is no effective engagement, human beings are naturally rational economic beings that whenever they're actually going to to give or to pay, their giving is directly proportional to the perceived value that they're getting. So if my church leadership, for example, is not been engaging me, then if when it comes to time of giving either my tithe or whatever contribution I give, the next reasonable question that people ask themselves is that what are they doing for me in this particular crisis? So there's a huge chunk of the church that is actually that is actually not giving because of that. But the other reason why giving is also suffered is that most of the churches have actually been more entrenched in the physical transactions. So most of their members, they have their envelopes back at home. They're waiting for the day when the church is going to open, because most of them, they are not used to giving, online. Either philosophically, to them, they believe that they can only get really blessed when they bring the envelope forward, or they have not actually been empowered to be able to do that. So those are the the five big challenges that you've actually noticed during this crisis, Berven.
Wow, William, that's really powerful. That's really good, because you've really touched quite a number of things that so many churches would be ignorant of, particularly pastors. In most cases, they would only identify one or two. But thanks for that list. Now, how can technology really mitigate these problems?
Right, technology will be playing a pivotal role in the life of the church in the three dimensions that I want to mention here, Berven. Right. That is in the spiritual growth of the church, that is in the numeric growth, and even also the financial growth. Let me quickly start with the spiritual growth. Those that are managing to use technology very well, they would understand that they're able to engage their members 24/7. Literally, members they don't have to wait for service, right? They can be able to go, to listen to their favorite messages, or to revival messages and so forth, at any given point without having to go to church, right? And therefore, that is actually going to help on the aspect of the spiritual growth, right? Then we also have the aspect of the numerical growth. The churches that are using technology, they're able to reach a wider audience, which means that they're able, their message is heard, and they're not limited by the geographical location, right? And then you also have the giving part. So when you're growing numerically, it also means that your financial coffers also get to grow, right? Either you are growing numerically or spiritually, but either way, right, you're also able to grow, financially. But more importantly, also on that part, right? Members that are also empowered technologically, like we said in the past, they are also able to give, through online, means.
Platforms. Wow, that's really good. So many industries have really quite benefited from technology. I know true. Before we've discussed about this, we've talked about the educational sector, we've talked of the banking sector. When it comes to the church industrial sector, when it comes to churches, throw in some churches or names that you can think of that have really actually benefited from digitalization.
You know what, we have quite a number of perfect examples of churches that have managed to actually work the technology platform, and have done very well both overseas and here in Africa. For example, in overseas, you can look at people like TD Jakes. He has got more than 20 million followers, people that he connects with at the click of a button. We have got the likes of Joel Austin, who has got more than 8 million, right? Joyce Meyer is a good example of ministers that have actually managed to use the technology, part very well. You also have here in Africa people like Pastor Paul Enenche, right? He has got a huge following. People like Pastor Chris, he has got a huge following. Prophet, Emmanuel Makandiwa, right? Has got millions of followers that is able to, to connect with within the click of a button. You have got, people like GNF, Bishop Nkapo, these are some examples of people that have been able to, to use technology very well.
That's very true, William. Now the challenge is, in most cases, and I just did that on purpose for us to identify some churches that are actually benefiting from using technology. Now the challenge that most small church pastors, like in terms of pastors who are leading small churches, it could be in remote towns or something like that. Most of them, when they hear us mentioning these big time pastors and bishops, they feel like technology and their church is not something that can actually work out for them. They actually, at the end of the day, don't prioritize the importance of technology. What do you have to say for someone who's thinking like that?
Look, principles are principles. When we're looking at the church and its responsibility, it does not matter you are talking to a smaller ministry or you're talking to a big ministry. And remember that the bigger ministries were also once a smaller ministry. But over a period of time, they were able to do the right things for them to be able to grow to the stage where they are. So there are critical success, what you call the critical building blocks that should be able to help a small ministry today to grow to the size of the bigger ministries that they actually get to see today. So when we talk about the principles, they are,
Right.
principles apply across the board. It does not matter that you're talking to a smaller ministry or we are talking to a big ministry. But there
Right.
is here is the trick, Berven.
Mm-hmm.
It should be an advantage to a smaller ministry right now for them to be able to start walking the route of technology adoption.
Okay.
Why do I say that? Is because they are able to to shift their ship easily when it comes to the issues of change management. Remember, technology is a culture, it's a system, it's a way of doing things. It is
Right.
very easy to influence people when you're actually still a smaller ministry, so that you
Correct.
can be able to steer them in the right direction.
Right. Wow, William, this is really amazing. So much useful information that you're giving us here. Now, one thing that we emphasize in the School of Administration is the how part. So it's great that you have told us, of the importance of technology, of where we are missing it as the church. That engagement is the key thing that we really have to focus on. But unfortunately, because most churches don't actually know their people, they don't have a database of their congregants, they don't know their congregation thoroughly. You're emphasizing that the shepherds don't know their sheep. Now,
that's true.
On the how part, William, what is the way forward? What first step should a church, a pastor, a shepherd take today that they can actually follow through, so that they can get to correct things that are not in the rightful place?
You are right, Berven. Everything starts with the members.
Right.
The core business of the church are people, right? So that is why it's important that whatever we're going to do moving forward, the leadership must have a complete and accurate database of their members. They must know who their members are. So this is what we have done. As our contribution to the body of Christ, we have introduced a tool that is going to help all the churches free of charge. This tool is called Gather. Yes. This tool is called Gather. What it's going to do is that it's going to help the church leaders to be able to gather their flock together, through an electronic member registration process. Where those that are going to participate in this, they are going to have an opportunity of sharing, the app with all their church members, so that they can be able to go through the member registration process remotely. They don't have to come to church for them to be able to do this, because we understand the restrictions that we're actually currently facing at the moment, that most of the church members are not able to meet. So they will be able to do this from home. And then the moment they actually get to do their registration, then it means that the church leaders would actually have a complete and accurate database of their members. Then from there, they can then be able to move forward and make the right and relevant decisions regarding their flock.
Wow, William, this is exciting news. So are you saying this app, it's a mobile app, right? Gather.
Correct.
And you're saying that pastors from all over are able to access this for free?
For free, completely free of charge.
This is really amazing. This is key for the pastors to actually take that first step. And I'm so excited. I believe we're going to be able to actually put in some details for them to be able to access this and find a way of accessing it and make good use of it. This is really exciting, William. I want us to continue with our session. So we are going to have another interview, William, and I want you to help us appreciate and understand how best we can digitalize our churches. And I can see from now you've already given us the first step, which is free of charge, a good gesture from Disciplesoft. So we want to go through the whole process so that we can get to know how best we can digitalize our churches. So for everybody who's tuned in right now, please look out for the next interview that I'm going to have with William once again, as we get a bit deeper into appreciating and understanding the relationship of the church and technology. Thank you so much for tuning in. And William, thank you so much for making time to do this.
Thank you very much, Bev.